Why, hello there, everybody, and welcome to 98.5 Reaction Land FM. I'm John Marshall.
Yes.
Yay! On this episode, I'll be reacting to the Foxes and Fossils video premiere of Sail On Sailor, filmed live from their recent two-night concert event. Plus, Ross King will be joining me in the virtual studio. That sounds exciting, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are so ridiculous.
Well, I got a really big show for you, and it all begins right now. Welcome to Reaction Land. Alright, well, pardon me while I whip this out. Alright, that's better. On December 29th and 30th of 2022, the Foxes and Fossils reunited for the first time in over 5 years. Both shows were completely sold out, right?
Yes.
Well, what do you say we check it out right now?
Yes.
Alright, here we go, folks. The Fox and Fossils and Sail On Sailor.
You ready, Ross? I sailed an ocean, unsettled ocean, through restful waters and deep commotion, often frightened, unenlightened. Sail on, sailor. I rest the waters like Neptune's water, sail through the sorrow of life's marauders, unrepenting, often empty. Sail on, sailor. Thought like a sewer rat, alone but I sail. Thought like a crust of bread, but oh, do I wail. Seldom stumble, never crumble, try to tumble, life's a rumble. Feel the stinging I've been given, never ending, unrelenting. Heartbreak searing, always fearing, never caring, persevering. Sail on, sailor. I work the seaways, the gale-swept seaways, past shipwrecked daughters in wicked waters, uninspired, drenched and tired. Sail on, sailor. Thought like a sewer rat, alone but I sail. Thought like a crust of bread, but oh, do I wail. Always needing, even bleeding, never feeding all my feelings. Damn the thunder, must I thunder? There's no wonder I'm all under. Stop the lying and the crying and the sighing and the dying. Sail on, sailor. Sail on, sailor. Sail on, sailor.
Wow. That was freaking awesome, man. Wow. Absolute ear candy right there. Absolute ear candy. Oh my goodness gracious. If they ever do another two-nighter or a one-nighter, I will be there. I'm telling you right now, I will be there, and hopefully I will introduce these guys onto the stage, because I would consider that an honor. These guys are so freaking awesome. Darwin just blew my mind, man. Totally. That was like...
Tito, give me some tissue.
And I gotta tell you, ladies and gentlemen, Ross King, you gotta give it up for him, man. That is so tremendous to see him up there representing his brother, the great Scott King.
Yes.
Oh man, this was gold. This was total gold. Great song by the Beach Boys. Phenomenally done and arranged by Tim Purcell and the Foxes and Fossils.
Yes.
I'm very impressed by that, man. I really wish I could have been there. This was and looks great. Tim Purcell did a great job editing the videos together and combining footage and filtering out noise, like from bottles and glasses clinking. Gorgeous job. I mean, honestly, I couldn't hear any of that, so you did a great job, Tim. The girls, the Foxes, man, they were really shining up there, and it was so awesome to see all three of them in a live performance setting. I think that's an all-time first on video. I mean, yeah, in the studio and in separate things, but an actual show where they're all three up there. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, and please hit that like button right now if you enjoyed this performance by the Foxes and Fossils. I mean, absolutely smoking. My producer's telling me we have Ross King in the studio now. Is Ross ready?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. And joining me from his home in Richmond, Virginia, is a wonderful friend of mine from the Foxes and Fossils himself, Mr. Ross King. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, John. How are you, bud?
Oh, another day, another adventure.
Another day.
Yeah, so man, exciting times for you. You just did a big show. Tell us a little bit about it.
It was a great time. I was lucky enough to be able to join the band in Georgia, and really busy time of year for New Year's Eve, and getting back, I had to get back into Virginia and drive to my New Year's Eve gig, and felt really good to do two shows for the Foxes and Fossils were definitely special, and it was a blast. And man, they're good. They're really good. It was nice meeting them. I had only gotten to meet some of the men.
So this was the first time you actually met everybody all together in one room.
Right.
Yeah,
wow. I haven't met
wow.
any of the girls yet, and there were the guest musicians and a lot of people that were helping with the show. I got to meet a lot of, good people involved in this whole, fan base and the talent of the girls, and, Tim and his wife and everybody they were so gracious and wonderful. And, it was really neat. I was, a little bit starstruck with it,
Sure.
what I know and being a fan, it was really, really cool, and they were wonderful people. Um, the venue was fantastic. All the folks who worked at the venue were super, sweet to the band, and um, it was really interesting for me to be right there in the little bitty city where some of those Tim and Darwin used to run around and be little grommets, little kids, and Tim was had some time to show me and my girlfriend around, and I really did enjoy it. I'd love to go back. It's a beautiful state.
That is incredible. See, now I just assumed you guys had all like met at some point. What?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to meet the basic, the men, um, Tim, Darwin, Johnny, and Toby when they visited Scott, and that was awesome. But it was a short introduction for me. They were
Yeah.
there to see Scott, and it was good time spent with those guys. But they were really cool and wonderful people to you know drive in and fly in from Georgia just to say goodbye to the king. And
Yeah.
I uh, I thought they were really good people, and that was sort of it, a short and sweet meeting. And then fast forward through the period of time that went by, and the show actually becoming an idea that was going to happen was super cool because who's to know. And when Scott moved, it was looking at live shows became even more difficult, considering the girls moving away, and not everyone being on the right there in the same little area for planning things like this. So I think that the fan base was critical in you know making their squeaky wheel heard and wanting to we want to see this band, we want to watch you guys do this thing live. And I really would have been great had Scott been around for that. And Richard is a great bass player, and I was happy to sit in. It was just one of those things where I feel like we've spoken a lot about Scott, and his qualities are just intangible. And there was a feeling of love for Scott there in the room. It was huge. And the band did great. I mean, despite it being thrown together, and all the rehearsing they had to do, and that when you're in a band like mine and you need to get together, you talk about it, you get together. But you
Right.
got somebody in Nashville, you got people in different parts of the state, and jobs and family and life. And so I think everyone's really lucky that we were able to have this happen, and me especially, just to be able to go. The venue change created an opening for me to be there. So I'm super happy that however that happened in the universe, I was really glad. I had realized that, well, I'm not going to be able to do the show. And I became comfortable with that because that's the way life goes. You can't do everything you want. And 3-4 weeks after that, I was notified that, hey, the venue's changed, and if you can do it, we'd love to have you. And that really just made me feel great. And to do this for Scott, in honor of Scott, and just how sweet of the band to say, hey, Ross, come on up, come on down, let's get you involved in this. And it felt great, really did.
When did you meet up with everybody? Was there a rehearsal?
Well, there wasn't a rehearsal that I was involved in, but the when Carter and I flew into the airport, Tim was able to pick us up, and Tim and his lovely wife, they offered Carter and I a room at their home, which was really nice.
Yeah.
Again, we hadn't spent a whole lot of time together at all, other than just meeting each other. And that's very sweet as well. But they were wonderfully gracious, and Tim picked us up right exactly as planned. Everything went smoothly at the airports, with that week being really tough for some people traveling. And thankfully, our flights weren't at all uh, bothered by the arrival or the departure. Everything went smoothly. So we get into Georgia early on Wednesday, the day before the first show. And that was the day where Tim had let me know that we would, if I can pick you up, I'm going to pick you up. And then we're going to do a quick little check out the city, the little town. And then we're going to meet Chase's parents at the venue to get ready for the stage gear, all the gear that was going to be a part of what turned out to be a really nice looking stage. So we get to the venue and it was empty. And this old, really neat building that used to be the Ford dealership, and now it's being converted into a music hall, and it's a church, and a lot of different hats that this venue wears. And it's a nice size, and the stage was good size, and really neat to see what was going on at that point, to actually step in the building. Yeah. And so just nothing but that was the plan. We met. Chase's folks showed up right on time, and Tim and I helped get all the gear in, not stage gear, but just the props and the things that went up on the stage with us, rugs and beautiful setup. It's very homey and very welcoming. And that's what I love about this band, is they think about everything. So we helped carry all a bunch of, get the things in. And a little after that, the sound companies showed up, and a lot of those men were familiar with Scott. And again, really warm feelings for me, where everybody was like, hey, good to see you, thinking about you and your family. And we loved your brother so much. Great people. I can see why Scott loved it there. I can see why he stayed so long. I've got, a song in the works about basically the idea being for Southern hospitality's sake, because of the warmth and just general realness of these people, everybody, like even people I'd never even met, folks had never met my brother, just folks in the venue, people in the town. They're just this warmth and this Southern hospitality. And I'm in that same general idea, but some special people in Georgia. And I have to admit that it inspired me to, create some music out of this. But so, the PA gets there, and all of these guys, all of this stuff had been sort of generously donated for the name of the, just for it being a great band, a great bunch of people. And then Scott's affiliation didn't hurt with some of these guys that have the PA and all that beautiful gear. It was top of the line stuff that was used for this concert. And, really a lot of generosity and time given out of a lot of people, and really special group. So it was just great. Everything about it was great. We, the stage came together, then the PA comes in, then we get the banners up, and I helped out with the banners, and got up on the scissor lift with a guy at the venue, and the banners had to be 30 feet tall, just really impressive stuff. And, I was nervous, and that was the sound check day. And I had been, oh yeah, we'll get you, basically we're going to sound check your stuff. And I was like, oh, good, because I didn't get a sound check. I didn't get a rehearsal. And so we get everything ready. And there was a little bit of time to shoot back to Tim's house. And we took a little time, maybe an hour and a half to wind down, get our things set up. Then we went back to the venue for the sound check. And as with all sound checks that are not a typical every weekend kind of setup. It took a little longer than normal, and there's a lot of band members, a lot of moving parts. Everybody had a nice in-ear setup, but it took a little time to manipulate all that. So, the sound check ended up being a little shorter than I'd hoped. And out of all of my material, I really only ran one song. And so I was a little nervous,
Yeah.
but it was okay. And most of my nerves were just about Scott, just the huge gaping hole that is left with Scott being gone. And, I was like, well, this is wonderful, but man, I'm nervous, and I've done this stuff for a long time and my nerves are still with me. And I have a basic nervousness that goes away when I start playing. So I'm used to it. I'm not one of those guys that's like, yeah, let's do this. I'm nervous all the time about playing music. It's fun. And, you have to, all your things have to be working. You got to be in tune. You got to be ready. You got to be on time. All the things that go along with doing this rock and roll lifestyle, I'm used to. But it was nerve wracking. It was daunting and emotional for me. Obviously, I think people will understand that. I would hope by now. I brought some, the idea I had to create some things for our mom at the concert was something that I really wanted to do. And I feel like I've been blessed by the fan base and the band members and folks like you, where you get to know people and they're like, hey, we're with you. We're with you. We're thinking about you. And that's a great feeling. And you need it really when these things happen in life. So I'm thinking to myself, I've got to get some of this love to mom because mom is suffering the most of all of us. So I checked in about getting one of those big dumb cards that you see that are just huge and getting everyone to sign a little, hey, we're thinking about you, or whatever anyone felt like signing. So I ended up having to get some poster board and some nice colored Sharpie markers. And I just set these poster boards up and I would stand at the merchandise counter and just encourage people to sign for Fontaine. And it went really well. So the next step is that Scott Cale, who's awesome, as you know now, he's going to help me get the right photos. I've chosen some photographs of Scott, and then Scott Cale's going to help me size them down to put in the center of these poster boards where I left some space that people signed around the poster boards. And it's colorful, and there's some really sweet things, and there's a lot of, oh, we miss Scott, and really beautiful things. So my goal to bring Fontaine some of this love that I'm feeling is real close. We're close to having it finished. And with Scott Cale's help, he'll be able to get the images sized up for me. And then we're going to mount them in the poster boards. And then I'll go and find some frames to put these poster boards in for Fontaine, our mom. And I'm excited to do that for her. And I have also, there's a nice card that Chase's mom picked up for me when I was running the idea by her. Very thoughtful group of people. And so there's a nice card. It's not as big and dumb as I thought I could find one, but it's big and dumb, and it's got a lot of nice things. And I just can't wait to do this for mom. She couldn't get to the show. A lot of people that wanted to go weren't able to go. A lot of people were. And so I feel good about that part, wanting to share some of this loving with my mom, who doesn't work computers very well and, doesn't have the technology available to her. So that's something that has been on me the whole time, really, after losing Scott. So I'm feeling great about that. I've got the poster boards over at Scott Cale's house now, and I've got the pictures picked out. And all that's going to work out beautifully for me to present to Fontaine from the fan base. Because again, it's all of those wonderful people that were willing to, sign a little something that are making this possible. And I just want to thank anyone that signed and that are, lucky enough to tune into your programs. That I'm super grateful for that. And it means a lot for my heart and for Fontaine as well. I know it's going to be great.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
That is so awesome. Beautiful, beautiful people, it sounds like. Uh you you tell a good story, my friend.
Well, I gotta say, the fan base, oh boy, they embraced me and my family like I was part of theirs. And really, that's what this group does, is they've got all of those wonderful fans that feel like family members that would do things, hey, you know, let's do this, let's do that. These are the kind of people you want as your family and friends,
Yeah.
because they're thoughtful and mindful of you. And, the love of music and the love of song and the love of, memories of our youth. And through this band, I think a lot of people are living those beautiful times of us all having that life before it becomes so complicated and full of trials and tribulations, and having families, jobs, homes, everything that goes along with being a human, a crazy human.
Yes.
But it felt really, I felt the presence of Scott in the room. They had Scott represented on the stage. I had Scott represented in a shirt that I made. And this was a shirt that a fan gave me, which I thought was so cool.
It's
Bruce
beautiful.
Johnson is his name. And he does a lot of the little silly Photoshop things that, everybody, it's fun when you kind of throw these pictures in, and he's done a lot of really cool things. And I remember Scott telling me about it. Oh yeah, there's this guy that does memes of me and photoshops of the band, and it's really funny. And it gave Scott a really a good shot in the arm about, how you feel about yourself when people start to do things like this, which is Scott. And this shirt was, I was just floored by the generosity and the thoughtfulness of it. And it really warmed my heart. Really, it did. I had already kind of created a shirt to wear, but man, this one was real close to getting the nod of being the one to wear. Scott loved it. I remember him showing me this image. And so that was another neat thing. But throughout the whole event, both nights, the people who, that recognized me mentioned their love of Scott and that their feeling of remorse for our family. And it was great. You can never get too many people saying, hey, we're thinking about you. I like the idea of what I think that the making it a unique show for just the fan base, specifically requiring the band, is the things that the band had played. They did a lot of outdoor venues and outdoor spaces with a lot of people, but it might have been spread out like some of these events can be, where you might have several hundred people near the band and several hundred more around the event. So I think that part of when you have a group like this, and it's morphed into so many different lineup situations, if you think about it. And if you look at the way the book is laid out, where people talk about it, the different band members, and how it used to be the Mustangs, and then they needed a little help, and hey, let's try my daughter Sammy. And then, hey, what about Sammy's friend Maggie? And then, oh, this is going great. doing some shows. But we're talking about a couple eateries where they've got, maybe 30, 50 some odd people at an outdoor seating environment for a restaurant. Um, and then you've got the morphing of one girl goes away, you get another girl in, you got another little venue. So it was right before all the snowball effect of the videos and the pandemic and the fan base just, and they tell two friends and they tell two friends. It's like that hair shampoo commercial. It went absolutely viral in every sense of the word. And you get the idea that, oh man, the Mustangs aren't working a lot, and you try these new ideas, and then the girls go to college, and what do we do now? And you get this new idea. Darwin enters the scene. It's just they weren't all together at one time before, and that's, I think, the gist of what was going on there is that Scott had the luxury of being involved in many, many large shows, and so did Darwin, and so did Tim, and so did Johnny, and so did probably. I mean, you look at what some of these girls had done um, in their past before the band started. I mean, they were all very talented um, public speakers and singers, and they were a part of a lot of things through their. They certainly weren't shy, these girls, but then it just never found itself being what it ended up needing to be. Really, I would love for this, if we could be telling this story and visiting some live venue shows with Scott King and Darwin, and then all the girls and all the special band members and the guest artists. That's what would make this story ultimately almost complete for me. But with Scott being a little, down and finding his way, needing to, get home with us in Virginia, and we were glad to have him. Trust me. But that sort of threw a monkey wrench in to what was going to, happen with this band. Were they going to be able to do a live show? No one really knew. No one was really thinking about it. With, as time goes by, and we have grown women with relationships and jobs and careers, really doesn't lend itself to being a live venue band where you travel around a little bit, because really they could, and they could have done something like that, but it just didn't pan out. And that makes the live show even more special. And, if they were to do it again, I'm sure that they're going to sell out again. I just can't see why it wouldn't naturally be an event that people are going to want to go see. I mean, the fan base is pretty large.
They'd be there.
And they've got, the means to travel, and they've got the desire to be there. And, I'm just crossing my fingers that they would like to do it again, because they were so good. The band was so good. And, when you think about getting those rehearsals in, and, it wasn't rushed, but it wasn't as simple as like, hey, let's get together, we'll get together twice a week until we're all comfortable. It wasn't like that. They had to make it happen and get the men and women together when they could. They did some jamming with just who they could, with the band members, and, kind of setting up what it was going to be. So it takes a lot of skill and talent just to do that, to be rehearsing a show without the whole band being there. Rick was running my material at the rehearsals just so they could all get through the material. And then, heaven forbid, if I weren't able to be there, the show would have gone on with no problem with Rick knowing the material. And then I had flirted with learning, everything that was going to be in the show, but I had run out of time. So my feelings of wanting to be prepared for anything, I decided that, well, I'm not going to be able to do that. Let me just settle in on the stuff I'm going to have to work on. And then, when you're running songs with Scott King playing bass in your ear, there's a lot of me going, oh, wait, whoa, what was that? Because of his uniqueness. Every time I listen, I'm hearing things that draw me into being interested. Like, gosh, man, how do you think of that? It's like, that's a great thing to be doing, but I wouldn't have thought of it. And that's the magic of Scott. Scott was a producer, not just a great musician. He was a guy that, could listen to an entire piece and find melody and harmony and meaning in things to do with a bass guitar, or just your feelings, or your sense of humor, your face, your smiling. He had a lot of really wonderful talents. So I had realized that, this material is special to Scott. So it'd be best just for me to learn the arrangement and not try to duplicate my big brothers. So that's ended up being what I did. A few of the songs I had already been familiar with, and then there were a few that I wasn't. So I only really had to work through a few things. And I was ready to go, but nervous as I was so nervous. It was crazy. I don't have those kinds of nerves. I have a general nervousness of getting up there and being ready to go, but it was pretty rough. I was getting so much love from people that it was kind of creating that my heart breaking again, sort of. So I had to really just kind of like, all right, man, you gotta pull yourself together. Why are you so nervous? And I ended up having just getting some quiet moments to myself and breathing and working through my nerves. And then next thing you know, it was my turn. So, it ended up going well. And I would do it again in a heartbeat. And it was a pleasure meeting Rick and the girls. And then, I got to meet some of the other players in the band, and that was really nice too. So just a huge, wonderful time for me. And just again, I'll have to say that I was as honored as I've ever been to do something for someone else in that way of not just kind of going to a gig for myself. It was in honor of my brother and for everyone else that made the trip, and made this show possible, all the band members and their love of doing it, and the special unique relationships that Scott had with all of the band members. And I could feel that from everyone. Really special.
Yeah, I was honestly surprised. I was expecting at some point to see some leaked footage from the concert, and I'll be honest with you, I'm quite baffled by that one. But then Scott Cale basically said that there was to be no photography, and the fans agreed to it, and they were very good about it. They were just happy to see the group together, and depressing for me because I wanted a taste. Honestly, I wanted a little nibble. Come on now. We saw the pictures and stuff of the of the venue. We saw the pictures on the Facebook Foxes and Fossils fan page, and just the photos that I saw told a huge story, and you could see that there was this down home community feel to it. And all I can do is imagine what you actually saw, because man, I would have given anything to been there.
It was great. It was great. Everything you're saying is spot on. I mean, the band, they love each other. They care about each other. They don't step on each other's toes. They're respectful of one another. There's an earnest appreciation for one another's gifts and what they bring to the table. Tim is just an amazing human being to me. everything that he does, all the effort that it takes, and then everyone else too. I don't want to diminish anyone else's role, but I think we all know that Tim is a heck of a point man, and a manager, in the sense of the words. I mean, um, a natural leader, really easy to want to work for, easy to want to do a good job for. Um, the fan base, I can't tell you how impressed I am with what you just said, that there weren't any sneaky sneaks.
Nope.
And if they were, they're being good enough not to not to leak anything until the band has the time to kind of get through and produce the video. We're lucky enough to where they had something in the can ready to go in Ventura Highway. I love the song, and I listened, and just all the hairs on my arm stood up. I love those vocals, and I love this band. It's just something that those girls are so special, and they're uniquely gifted, and they're just so beautiful to each other, supportive, and
I think that's why we, as the fans, honestly love the group, because there is a sense of just love in this group, and it's honestly implied with the title of the group, Foxes and Fossils. It's odd, but you get this warmth in your heart when you've seen a few of the videos, and you're thinking to yourself, man, these guys really deliver the magic in the songs. They're honestly just oozing this spirit of the music, and it comes out in the personalities. And God, it's just a pleasure to know you guys, and it's a pleasure to have pieced all your stories together, because it honestly, between you, Darwin, and Scott Kale, a timeline has been filled for me, even though most of this isn't going to be unloaded on this video. But as somebody who's an outsider and has like no idea what you guys are like together, yeah, I honestly, my heart hurts just knowing that I wasn't there, and I won't get to experience that magic except for through the released videos that Tim is working on. I believe that they're going to do just like singles.
Yeah, that was the talk, doing a few just to keep everyone in. The amount of work that it's taking is a lot. So even with some of the material that, Tim works ahead of everything. Again, really smart. There's he knows what he's doing. He knows how he wants to go about it, and the band they're all on the same page with it. So the amount of work it's going to take to have is everything going to be included? If not, how am I going to make this work? And the multiple angles that have to be gone through, I can't imagine how much work it's going to take. But with that being said, having Ventura Highway, and then whatever else is happening, because they don't divulge everything. I'm not
No.
I'm not aware of everything, but I think that what I understood is that he's going to pick some things to release while they're working on this. And I did receive a little something in a message about, hey, here's a little something that I want everyone to give a listen to, and take a look and give me any of your critique and any ideas or whatnot on it. So feel good about the fact that you will be able to see some things from the show. I just don't know when. And then I'm sure that when the editing is finished and Tim and the gang are pleased and happy, then that'll give everyone else some opportunities to kind of look forward to having either a copy or however they're going to do this. And I believe that there's enough people out there that are like yourself, excited and with waiting with anticipation to get a little taste of it. And just I think everybody's feeling was, boy, this was fun and this was special. And for me, my end result thought is that, man, I hope they do some more of this. Really proud to have been a part of it. I feel like Scott was with me. I had a few hairball moments go on during the show that were just unbelievably ridiculous and unexpected for me. And I had to regain my composure a couple times. And I was able to do so by kind of taking a peek at a nice picture that they put up of Scott on the set. So I was able to kind of pull myself, okay, take a look at Scott and then get your Shinola together, because you gotta do this. So,
Yeah.
Maybe after the video's released, I could, you and I can find some time and I'll share a couple of the, snafus that
Indeed.
occurred for old Ross. And, there's some fun in there. So that's something that we could maybe look forward to.
Well, I look forward to that.
It's always a pleasure, John, and I'm glad to see you. And thank you for your interest in the groups and the things that you do. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, brother. And thank you so much for joining us this morning, buddy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we have for this show. It was a great song clipped from their concert. And believe me, there's going to be a lot more because they had an extensive set list. And stay tuned for part 2, where we'll be joined by Scott Cale, a great friend of Scott and Ross. Should be very exciting. What do you think?
Yes.
Good show, everybody? Good show? I agree with you, totally. Well, folks, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I'm John Marshall. Till the very next time that we meet. God bless you.
Oh!